right, welcome to the second episode of You Can Feel It All Over. Ooh, yeah, hey. Hey. This is my friend and guest Geoff Burghardt.
Hello, my name is Geoff.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the world a little bit about yourself?
A little bit. Well, my name is Geoff. I know Keith through playing music. We play bluegrass music together. I built mandolins. I sell homes. I'm a realtor. I'm a father of 3 that I know of. Just kidding. Father of 3. I live in Denver. I grew up in Denver. I was a geology major. I taught school for 7. Kind of, been around.
Been around the block. Cool.
Done some things.
Well, cheers, bud.
Hey, yeah.
On the show.
Here's water.
Yeah. What's something interesting for the people to know that they might not know about you? That's that's PC.
Something that people might not know about me. Well, there's going to be some thought here. I had my first kid when I was 21. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I taught. So here's interesting. I went to school and I didn't know. I went to college. I started at Puget Sound in Tacoma, and I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I was just interested in everything. And finally, I took a geology class my sophomore year, and I was like, cool. This is cool. So I transferred back to CU and I started my little family, and I got my geology degree. And then I had my second kid at the end of that. So 2 kids just out of college, like,
what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah, with the geology degree.
My wife at the time was planning on being a nurse, but with the 2 small kids, we hadn't made a whole lot of movement towards that. So I realized I enjoy talking about, like, just telling people things that are interesting to me. So I was like, maybe I should look into being a teacher. So I did an accelerated program. I got my teaching license in 3 semesters.
So the alternative licensure program?
It wasn't quite alternative. It was just an accelerated program. That's Normally it would have been 4 semesters in a summer, but I got it done in 3. Excuse me. So I got licensed to teach science, and this was 2007. DPS had just done a big sweep of part of the No Child Left Behind thing. They were just firing people left and right. Like North High School lost half of its faculty and staff overnight.
Wow.
Over one summer. And that was the summer I was looking for a job. So I was like, wow.
It worked out for you.
I guess there's spots in North High School.
Yeah.
But God, I haven't talked with anyone, so I don't know exactly, but I imagined that probably felt like a pretty toxic place for at least immediately right after that. So I ended up getting a job teaching at Denver Academy. And I was sitting down in the room in the division where they were going to hire me. And they're like, well, we have these teachers doing this, these teachers doing this. We need a math teacher. How do you feel about math?
You're certified science?
I'm certified science, but at the time, I needed a job.
Yeah.
And
so you felt pretty good about teaching math?
And I did. I liked math a lot. I've always liked it. But they needed a geometry teacher, and that was the class that I liked the most growing up.
Oh, cool. And
it turns out that teaching geometry was my favorite part of being a teacher. It was a really, really cool thing. And the school I was teaching at was for kids with learning disabilities, kids who learn differently, who'd struggled in other places. Certainly a lot of ADHD kind of stuff, a lot of dyslexia as well. So, reaching kids that are totally capable, totally intelligent, but just don't do well
in a traditional setting.
In a big school setting, where you're a face among 25. And I resonate with that for sure. I never got diagnosed with any of those things, but I think those people need to be taught instead of being told, well, you have to do it this way. It's like, well, it doesn't work for me. Yeah, so I ended up teaching geometry for 7 years, and I was doing literature and English too.
Nice.
So got a wide range of experiences there.
That's definitely interesting. I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, it's interesting you talk about, I work as a middle school counselor by day, gigging basis by night.
Mm-hmm. The best way to do it.
Yeah, and I actually was talking with a coworker about this recently. because I was a special ed teacher for like 6 years.
Okay.
I was a reading interventionist, you know.
All right.
And I have the more I work in education, the more I develop like a soft spot for the struggling middle school boys, because you know I feel like as a male I kind of get where they're coming from, and I sit in a lot of meetings where we talk about the kids being impulsive, they can't sit still, and what a pain in the butt they are.
I can't sit still.
I can't either. I know, like even right now, like I just want to twiddle my legs.
I'm realizing how creaky this chair is.
Yeah. But it's just interesting because sometimes I'm like, well, are we? On one hand, yeah, sure, you have to be able to figure out how to keep yourself calm, have a conversation,
right,
blend into a work environment.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder too, you know, like what if some of them, you know, you just think differently? Is it a bad thing that you process cognitively process information than whatever the normal is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, you know, sometimes I wonder with ADHD, if you're daydreaming a lot, like maybe you're just super creative and you're thinking of things, but you haven't figured out how to like be like, well, I'm in class right now, or like I'm at work. I just need to take that idea, write it down somewhere, or put it somewhere.
Yeah.
So when I get home, I can tap into that. I mean,
For
it's like listening to songs when I drive to work. Sometimes if I get there early enough, I can go to the music room and work out like the bass line.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just have to like hold it in my head somewhere till I get home, you know?
Totally experienced that. Yeah, what I think is bad is making someone feel like what comes to them naturally is not good.
Yeah.
Or not, like you won't be able to go far with this. And it's true. If someone can't pay attention, they're not going to do well in a desk job, in a corporate office on the 12th floor. Like that person is going to feel confined. Mm-hmm. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to realize that and to treat people respectfully when they do things differently than us.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, some things are weird, and that's fine. Some things are wrong, and people need to be called out on that. But you know, if a kid has trouble paying attention, like God bless him. It's a hard world to be. I mean, in middle school was the roughest, man. I hated it.
It's the dark ages of that.
I hated it. I could have never taught middle school just because it would have been painful reliving a lot of that stuff. But no, I think a cool thing that I got from our school is we talked a lot about twice exceptional.
Oh yeah.
So we had a lot of students that were like, 99th percentile in language skills, but like 5th percentile in like processing skills. So this kid has all the language use, all the ability of expression, and I'm totally, it's coming out bad.
No, it sounds good. I think what you're saying.
These kids have the ability to communicate and to understand language on deeper levels than other people, but their processor is so slow that they look dumb, but they're not.
They're not, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I shouldn't say they look dumb, but they don't look nearly as intelligent as they really are.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I think a lot about that with this idea more and more of like the norm. Like it's like this little box.
Yeah, what is it?
It's like everyone's trying to swim into this little box that's set through like social media and TV movie programming. But really, if you're just like okay with hanging outside the box, being like just the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's like with kids with dyslexia. I think a lot of the kids with dyslexia are super, super highly intelligent. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like a processing thing too, where maybe it takes a little while to learn to get thoughts out on paper.
Yeah. But
verbally, they can have high level conversations.
Yeah.
And it's like, like I always think about that a lot. Like, what kind of justice are we serving kids if you're trying to force them to be in a box, as opposed to thinking about, well, how can I help this person understand how they cognitively and emotionally process things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think, as an adult, we all have to kind of, as humans, we all have to figure that out.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I was the kid in like English classes that through primary and secondary education stuff, I always got shot down because I come up with these wild ideas. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I think hurt the most was that like I was trying, You know what I mean?
Right,
I mean, sometimes I was a wise ass and I was a class clown, but a lot of times I was trying and I thought it was like, I'd be excited to be like, yeah, I gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
And then I would get shot down because it didn't fit what the author's purpose was.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it took to go to a community college where somebody was like, wow, you have like a unique way of looking at these things.
Yeah.
Elaborate on how you came up with that. Like the community college experience kind of forced me to think through how I came up with my ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
Nice.
And I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And you know.
And then being able to express them in a way.
Yeah.
That communicates more fully like what you're thinking, where it came from.
Yeah, and that was really cool. Like I never had that opportunity.
Cool.
So with the kids, kind of what you were saying, the nice thing about counseling is I'm not managing a classroom.
Right.
So I can really work with kids. So if it's the same similar situation where a kid is kicked out for just having off the wall answers, that's appropriate. He's not trying or she's not trying to be inappropriate.
Right.
I can help them go through the process to help them understand how they came up with stuff more.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you really need to look into, especially at that age, like the intent. What is this? What are they trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
What do they think they're trying to do? Because a lot of times a kid they'll think they're trying to give a good answer, but they're really just trying to impress their friends,
Yeah.
which is fine as long as that answer fits in the context of the class.
Yeah.
It's great. And then, you have to be sensitive about how you call people out, because those interactions, like, they plant seeds and it lasts for a long time.
It does.
Or, if a kid really hones in on an identity of, oh, I'm a disruptor, or
This is what people expect of me.
I'm a bad influence, then then when they aren't that, it's like, well, then what am I?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think you really have to be careful, as a teacher, as an educator, a counselor too, I imagine, of what sort of seeds you're planting in kids for how they view themselves.
Yeah, no, that's why I love working at middle school, because it's that little transitionary period, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of times, it kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, like a lot of times, there's like the well-intentioned adult, and I do this, I'm definitely guilty of this, I try not to do it, but like, well, when I was your age, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
or you can't do this because of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I try to avoid that as much as I can, and just ask like questions to get them thinking about it.
Mm.
Of like what they did, what's a natural consequence, good or bad, you know?
Yeah.
But the only time I tend to like step in is when like it's like a boundary issue, or like,
Yeah.
you know, like you can't make inappropriate sexual comments, and
Right.
like you just can't do that.
Right.
You gotta learn that you can't be super handsy with people, even like just boys just beating each other up in a play manner, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
there's just certain things you just can't do, and you gotta
Yeah.
understand that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that goes even to adulthood. I
Yeah.
broke my collarbone last year, and I was at a Rockies game, and I met a guy for the first time, and I don't know if this is on the camera, but he did one of these
Oh yeah.
on his leg,
Yeah.
and I looked at it, and he was like here and here, and he did one of these, and I was like, fuck, really? And I was like, shoot, really? And he like socks me on my shoulder. He gives me a good punch. I haven't been punched in a while. I don't know, people just, whatever. But he punched me, and I'm like, dude, if you had hit this one, like, we'd have a very different situation on our hands right now. Like, it's so inappropriate. Like, how...
So some random stranger, he did one of these where you put your finger down to look, and then
Yeah, and then when
he
you see
clocked
it,
it.
you get punched if you don't, do whatever. But it was just so inappropriate. It was like, who was your middle school teacher?
Shout out to my art teacher, Mr. Lager. We do that. We don't hate each other, but we do that all the time. Like your Lager, boom.
Totally. So this is a guitar I built in 2016. I still haven't put a label in this. This is kind of the way my brain works sometimes. I built this one for me, and this is number 50, I think, exactly right on the dot, or 49. It's a arch top, arch back, small body guitar. I came up with the design, with the outside design, the arching, the holes, the neck design, the slotted headstock. All of this was just completely from the ground up. And what I wanted was a small guitar with a nice big voice, but especially one that had had some cutting power, and I wanted to be able to play like cool, sweet jazz chords on it. And it's a little bit, I don't know, it's describing sound is difficult, but it's different from like a dreadnought guitar, which you find in bluegrass music most of the time. But I think it's Mama Carter. I don't know.
Maybell?
Yeah, Maybell. You'll see examples of like old archtop guitars in like old timey music, and certainly like blues. So yeah, it's got a cool voice for that. Cool for like old timey. So I made it for stuff like that, to try and inspire me to do more, learn more of those styles. And I haven't gone too far with it. I've learned a couple tunes like this progression. Wait, hold on. For it ain't misbehaving. Oh shoot, how's it go? Anyway, I just got some work to do. But after building this, I was able to build 3, I think, in the next year that people ordered some more. So this has been a really fun instrument.
Keeping along with like sort of the Geoff timeline, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Teaching for 7 years, that's super cool. How did you end up getting into building some instruments, mandolins and stuff?
Yeah.
That's cool too.
So thank you. I was when I was a junior in high school, I sketched a guitar. It was a small, it was like this size, and I carried it around in my wallet. And the idea was to have a flat board that looked like it had a twist in it, sort of like that.
That's cool.
And how could you represent that artistically? And there's a cutout here and a cutout there, and so it makes this flat thing look like sort of 2 pieces that are together. Anyway, I had this idea. I ended up making a mock-up of it from some leftover stuff at my parents' house, and then went to a store and bought a board. Cause I was a shop kid. I got like the Industrial Arts Award, you know, when I graduated and all that. But so I went to Paxton Lumberyard and found the piece. It was across. It was like right there. As soon as I walked in, like there it was. And I avoided it. I went all through the store, and then it was like, yeah, that's the piece.
That's the piece.
So I got that, and I put that together. Then I ended up meeting an electric guitar builder, and he helped me with the finishing and getting a neck on and doing luthier specific stuff.
That's super
So that's when I was 17. Actually, the day I finished it, our high school jazz band had a concert at my high school that night. So it was cool. I got to play.
Oh, that's awesome.
The guitar I built. I was a junior or senior. I can't remember, but I know I was 17. And then went to college. There's a story behind learning how to play mandolin, but I ended up with a mandolin for a few years, and then I was ready to upgrade that, but I couldn't afford, because I had a kid. I was in school to become a teacher. There just wasn't money for instruments. But I worked construction that summer, and I had heard that you could build instruments with cedar. Like cedar is a top wood that a lot of makers use. And I didn't know anything at the time. I'm like, oh, cool, any cedar. It's like, no. And I missed a lot of details in my early, let's say I learned a lot of details.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got a board of cedar and I cut it in half and I hollowed it out and I put it back together and slapped a neck on it. I took the frets from my first mandolin and recycled them into the new mandolin, the mandolin that I was building. So
you took the frets off like a tail, a shop, like a
the one that I had,
mandolin.
the one that I had broken. So I removed those frets and put them in because I didn't want to buy fret wire.
That's super cool. Yeah.
And then the binding on the next instrument I built, next mandolin, the binding I used was some old gutter that was laying around in the property. You know, like the PVC, that plastic gutter.
Yeah.
I just found a piece of it and I cut some strips.
Oh, really?
That's the binding for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I learned the hard way. I'm putting together a little video with a friend right now about sort of my
process,
all of that, and so I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And I took a really difficult road in learning how to build. It was trial and error.
That's cool.
Yeah, in a big time way.
That's cool with the arts. I mean, it's even like doing something like this for me. It's like the process of problem solving.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really cool to think that for your first mandolin, you were thinking outside the box of how to get these parts that, you know, there you go. Well, I can't afford. The problem is I can't afford it.
Right.
Or I can't afford certain things. So how can I make do with what I have?
Yeah.
You know.
And how addicting that is. I like how you put that, problem solving. Like, I think I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
I think people are in general. I think that's how we get sucked into drama. I think that's how we end up in a lot of places, is because I think we fundamentally enjoy fixing problems.
Problems. Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because that's the hard part of my job, is my day job, is like I see the same kids, or kids with the same sort of issues constantly.
Yeah.
And it's so hard not just to be like, well, dude, you just can't do that. You can't drop an F-bomb in class and not expect to get in trouble. You know? But it's like, it's more, that has to turn into, well, so what happened?
Yeah.
What was going on in your head? Were you like stressed out? Like, what did you learn about the whole experience? Blah 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 blah. You know.
Yeah.
But it's actually good because you can see the gears grinding in their heads. And I get kids coming pissed about lunch detention all the time. But then you ask them the right questions, and then you're like, well, what do you think like a natural consequence is? And they're like, oh yeah, I can see how I got lunch detention.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's a process versus the problem solver. Well, you just need to next time blah 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 blah, and then things will be good.
Yeah.
But it's also my own thing of like, well, we all inherently learn from making mistakes, and like you were like.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I used to want things to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the gardening thing, like, oh, I'm gonna grow these things, but then like the tomato plants aren't doing well. And instead of taking it personally, it's like, well, what do I need to do?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And it never feels as good when it's someone else solving your problem.
Yeah.
You know, like that whole teacher, well, you need to do this. It's like, oh, I know. But I want to get to that on my own and not feel like I'm following orders. I want to feel like I'm creating my own path through this. That's been a big thing for me.
Yeah,
I think a lot of punk ass kids are that way too, where there's a stubbornness to just doing it themselves. So your method of asking questions, I think, is always better. And this is a cool thing, an important thing that I feel like that my dad taught me early on is always ask a question instead of making an assumption.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think it's a really solid way to deal with people. And I don't do it nearly well enough. But it's in my brain somewhere, so sometimes I think about it and I get there.
Well, it's hard when you get caught up. I say all this stuff too, but sometimes it's like, I'm busy and that you just do the well-intentioned adult thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it's also part of that's just, like slowing down, looking at situations for what they are, Yeah.
And sometimes there's just not time for that.
Yeah, you just have to.
And I think kids and adults too, I think they appreciate that sort of honesty. Like, look, man, this is the kind of situation where I feel like we ought to sit down and have a good long conversation and dig down, but right now we just don't have time. So here's what I need.
Here's what I need you to do.
Here's what I need you, and then your power is relational, right? It's not like I'm telling you what to do. It's like you're doing this for me because we like each other. And
That's
even I think as I tell my students this all the time, like we are friendly, but I'm not your friend.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
And because there are things that you can tell me, but I can't just keep to myself. If they're along a certain line of things, I have to tell someone else. And there are things that you could tell your friends that they could keep secrets over that. But I think it's an important thing, especially I think in your line of work. I think it's less so in mine now, with building instruments and with real estate. Well, no, there's like not secrecy. There's private sensitive information, that we don't share as realtors.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
But not in the same way that it would be in a school. But yeah, we're friendly, but we're not friends.
Yeah, you can probably relate to this. I always I try to be outside in the hallways and like, yo, buddy, what's going on? Hey, it's like, and at the end of the day, I'm like, tell people, I'm like, man, building relationships is exhausting. You know what I mean?
It is, man. It is.
I try to take the goofy approach to seem harmless, so people are like,
yeah.
It's more for me like, hey, I just need them to know that like when something's not going right, hopefully in the back of their head, they're like, even if they don't know me or if they know me, they're like, oh, I can go to Summers and things will be.
Yeah.
I can go there and cry or tell about some stuff that happened,
Are you introverted kind of naturally?
No, it's a weird thing. Like I don't know how I got into the counseling business. I mean, I'm pretty much an extrovert, but as I get older, like the counseling part, I had to it's like at work I have to constantly I don't know if contain myself is the right word, but it's like it's just a lot of listening, a lot of following what people are saying.
Sure.
It's the kids, it's the adults, it's the parents. And then when I come home sometimes it's like, and then music's the same thing. It's like, you're playing, you're listening, you're trying to figure out like where the tempo's at, what people are doing, especially playing bass, like how to glue it all together.
Right, for sure. So
then I find like sometimes, I'm always around people though still. So that fits like we were talking about earlier, I could never be in a cubicle. That'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, totally.
Like I need to be doing, I love my day job and the music job because it's like, I'm always, like I drive to work now, I'm like, I've just submitted to the fact, I know what I have to do.
Right.
I have no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I like that.
It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's like playing a gig, right? You go rehearse all these tunes and you go there and you're like, well, that didn't work out so well. Hopefully I'll get it the next verse.
Oh yeah, we'll see how this goes. Totally.
You're like, dang it, I worked so hard on that harmony part, I blew it again.
It's funny. It feels like we're always in that prelude, like we're on our way to the big show.
Yeah.
But I think more and more like every moment is the big show.
It's the big show.
And I think that can kind of like existentialism. I think that can be a really relieving thing.
Yeah.
Or it could be incredibly like powerfully terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I really don't get nervous playing anymore. And I don't really care when I miss notes, even in like a professional setting. Well, I guess I do notice, but not in the way that I used to.
Yeah.
I think I used to care what people thought a lot more than I do anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's the same for me, unless it's like depends who's watching. Like if I look out and
yeah, I guess there is that.
Like those, like we played during a meltdown, and I look over on the side stage. I'm like, oh god, there's somebody that I really respect, and I'm like, dude. But that's a good point. I mean, I think with I wonder if a lot of artists and creative people, like have to come to that conclusion where it's just like, screw it, I just don't care. Like I'm gonna do these things, and I'm gonna put it out there. And yeah, I remember playing music and just hanging on like the notes and beating myself up. But now I just try to be like, well, there's another verse coming along. I'll get it next time.
Yeah, next time is yeah. What is, I don't even know who said it, but like there's no wrong notes. It's just the ones you intend.
Yeah.
And or something like that. But yeah, I guess audience does make a difference because I have done. I guess I have gotten nervous. I've played some wedding, like walking down the aisle, solo mandolin.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay. Yeah, there's like a different level. And I don't know, maybe that's an expectation thing. Maybe that's what causes the nervousness.
Yeah.
The last time I really remember being nervous, we're in a company company like seminar with a business coach, whatever, and he was going around getting ideas from people, and I found that I tend to be whatever the counterpoint is if it's an open forum. Like I'll take the devil's advocate side just kind of naturally. And so I was thinking about that as it was coming, not about like that position, but I was thinking about what I was going to say. And by the time it came to me, I was like, I was like, I should have just passed the mic, man. It wasn't important enough to be bumbling like that. But yeah, and I think also, maybe every moment is the moment. But I think that shouldn't be used as an excuse not to care or not to try hard, not to put forth, your best effort. And I think a lot of people might get confused in that sort of the ease at which you can go about things and say, I've done my work, I've done the front loading, now it's time to perform. And just getting comfortable with that, like I'm gonna miss some notes, like we just are. And getting comfortable with that, but not using that as an excuse for not practicing or for not listening or paying attention. And I think some people get mixed up in that. They sort of take that attitude at the start, instead of in the moment. I don't know, but I think there's a whole lot of practice that should be happening that I do not do, that I should be working on. So this is an F-style mandolin that I built. This is number 47. I built it a couple years ago. And like all F-style mandolins, has the scroll, the points. But the unique thing about this is I did mahogany on the back and the sides and the neck. I've grown to really like mahogany as a neck material. It's light, it's strong, it's stiff. It's easier to work with than maple. And I had this one piece back for mahogany, and I thought, well, let's just carve that, and it worked out really well. This instrument has a really nice range. It's sharp. I shouldn't say sharp, it's strong up on the high. Where it can play those notes in a strong way, but that's not too harsh. A lot of what sounds like volume is just sort of like harshness. And with mandolins, they're very sensitive that way. So that's a tricky one to do, where it's not just annoying, although it can be annoying. And then the other tricky one with mandolins is getting a nice good like chop and having a cut through sound. So the overall effect of this with an Engelmann spruce top, mahogany backsides and neck. I am getting nice. It cuts through a crowd really nicely on the low end, like a good thunk, thunk, thunk. And then when I'm soloing, it cuts through really nicely there too. So this has been fun. And this one was pretty much, both of these instruments were like leftovers. They're just like extra pieces of wood I had around the shop since they were experiments. Yeah. Should I play a tune?
It's like there's like a nightmare of doing this stuff that like you do like a really good bit and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I forgot to record.
Yeah. I've missed some parent moments because of that.
Parent moments?
Yeah. Like my daughter ran cross country for the first time last fall, and she's in 7th grade, and
oh no.
her very first running over the cross line, or the end line, the finish line, I thought I was starting the film, but apparently I was ending it.
Oh no! So it's like right.
It caught like the 30 seconds up to the last 20 feet.
Oh no!
The part where she's like huffing and puffing and really hurting. Yeah.
You got that part, but then
I got that, but not the going across the line.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I think parenting has taught me to like relax on some of the details.
That's cool.
I feel like a lot of parents could relax more. You know?
Yeah.
I think about this a lot. I don't really have any close friends. You know, like friends that I spend a lot of time with that also have kids.
Yeah.
I think I hang out mostly with single folks and
like me.
like everyone, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't remember that ever being like a conscious decision. And it could be like just being in a younger musical community that just sort of happens naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a whole lot of friends to like commiserate on on the difficult side of parenting, which can be.
I can imagine. Well, that's a cool thing. That's a nice segue I was going to ask you about. Like, I'm always interested. Like, I know what works for me, but I'm always more interested in like man, it's like you got 3 kids, you got a career as a real estate agent, you go out and play, and you build instruments. Like, how do you? What's your juggling act? How do you manage all that stuff?
I think it's one I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends what day it is and what I've committed to.
Yeah.
But someone gave me a word, and I forget where it came from, and it wasn't harmony. It wasn't. Was it synchronicity? Synchronicity. But it's the idea that I'm not balancing these things because they'll never be in balance.
Yeah.
When I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids, right? When I'm being a real estate agent, I'm being a real estate agent, and it's out of balance, and knowingly and acceptingly so. And I think the idea is, I guess harmony is the word, is to have those things working in harmony.
Mm-hmm. Where
at the end of every month, I'm not counting my hours. Did I do enough real estate stuff? Did I do enough kid stuff? I'm balancing, or I'm figuring out, did real estate stuff take away too much from being a parent or from being a luthier?
That's a good way.
Did luthery take away, like, did I focus time on luthery stuff, on instrument building, that I should have put into real estate stuff? And that's the big one that I watch out for, because the priorities is kids, real estate, instrument building. Mm-hmm. And I still, even as a third priority, I still put at least 20 hours a week into it.
Yeah.
But that's an average over time. There are many weeks where I put none, and then there's some weeks where I put a ton. So it's less about balance and it's more about harmony. Are these things building each other? And the ideal is, and I told my dad this when I first got started with my license, I was like, I think ideally I will be building instruments and going and picking in the bluegrass community. I would like to get more into the gypsy jazz community. I need to learn. I feel like I need to learn. I need to come with more material.
Yeah.
But I would like to start meeting folks, because I build guitars. I think I think they would be phenomenal gypsy guitars.
Yeah.
But I would like to do that, cultivate a community, get within that community, build friends, make relationships, and then have my services as a realtor come into play and help those folks out. And then people I do real estate with, I would like to offer those clients cool opportunities in and around Denver that involve music and bluegrass.
That's cool.
I think I've been able to, I think there's ways that I could tie those up closer together, but that's the idea. And sort of central to all that is, what kind of value do I present to the people around me? And how can I share that in a way that benefits them first, and that eventually could, turn into business for me? Because I think people do business with you when they trust you, when they like you, and when you know that you care,
Yeah.
And so I don't do a lot of cold calling. I don't do like internet
I
advertising.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I get tons of cold
By the
calls.
way, have we talked about By the way, I'm never too busy for referrals. Like, come on, man. But no, it's important to me that people not just think that I care, but know that I care.
Yeah.
And that I'm not trying to pitch business stuff at them before I'm trying to just be a friend and be of service to folks. And I say that in like a genuine way. And I think there are people that say that don't
do that.
fully mean it, you know?
Yeah. No,
So,
I can see that with you.
Yeah.
The community thing's huge. I mean, that's part of like why I wanted to start something like this.
This is so
like,
cool, man.
I'm like, I know all these people,
Yeah.
you know, like who are just like, to do like you, to build instruments, have a family, do a lot of cool stuff in communities. I know originally I was going to just focus on Lafayette, but then I'm like, man, like it was another way just to kind of add stuff out there, you know, like you've got certain people that probably like are like, oh cool, they'll watch this, they're like, I didn't know that about Geoff, you know, or like this
Totally,
it's just cool, you know, people just put it on and listen. So I think it's cool to be able to, that's the business thing I have is called Barefoot Music Studios, and that's
Cool.
the tagline.
Nice.
Tagline.
Barefoot.
It's creating community through music.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
you know, we're doing stuff like this, you know.
I totally think it's a great way. This has been cool to get to know you more, and like Lafayette is a really cool town. Love this town, but there's Louisville right there, and it's Superior, and Boulder, and then, you know, Westminster, Arvada, Denver. Like we're all they're the boundary lines, but it's all the same.
It's all connected, yeah. Yeah, the community thing because how long have you lived out here? Are you native?
I grew up in Denver, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I came out in 2004 from New Jersey, but it's been interesting, you know, as far as music and bluegrass. We had like a small thing in the band, River Bend. We did fairly well like in the local thing. But it's been interesting to see like the next generation of people pop up and watch how the whole thing has kind of expanded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Big time. I think it's been the last 7 years or so, or at least my experience with it. I went to my first bluegrass jam 9 years ago. Okay. I was in Superior's in a coffee shop right off of 36. I don't even think the coffee shop is still there. But I started really, really going to jams about 4 years ago. And watching it expand in the way it has been
cool.
fast.
Dude, you're a great musician. I remember that from.
Oh, thanks.
Right.
You are too.
We opened up for you guys. Shout out to my man Alan and Willie Bean Bluegrass.
Oh
I remember years ago, and I was like, dude, who's this guy at the bass? That's before I played bass, but that's when I was just a banjo dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I remember that. You know, it was cool. And
Yeah, he's asked me to play a show or two. I think I've just done one with him, but awesome guy.
Talk about a guy that just loves, you know, he's just cool dude, just getting people together and.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, in a way, that's sort of like I would like to have the kind of impact I think that Alan does, because no one's ever said anything bad about him, and every time I think about him, I'm like Alan.
Yeah.
And you know, he's out there, he's throwing gigs to people, he's helping people make money, he's helping people make connections.
Yeah.
And when you see him, you get a real honest, heartfelt handshake and. How are you, bud?
He randomly sends me texts like every 3 months. He's like,
cool.
Hey, Fast Eddie, how you doing, my man? You know, I'm like, Alan, what's up?
So cool, man.
Yeah, it is.
He's a hero. Alan, you're a hero.
Cheers, buddy. Maybe I'll have him on here sometime.
I think you should, man. Yeah. I would be curious to know more about his stories.
Yeah.
He looks like a cowboy. But I always wonder, like, is he secretly like a computer programmer? But I've never gone there with him, and I would be curious about that.
Yeah,
maybe he could make that happen.
He'll travel from Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Just to do a podcast. He probably would.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Maybe you could take it mobile, man.
I thought about that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the works. My friend and I, you know, like Facebook pages. Shout out to my friend Leah at the Cannon Mine Coffee Shop.
Woo!
We're gonna do like you know, this like the town Facebook pages. There's a page called Lafayette Rocks.
Cool.
And you know, there's sometimes it's really cool. It's like community stuff where like, you know, there's a guy named think Jerry Morrell's how you say his name. He's a great photographer, has a printing place in town.
Nice.
He posts these like beautiful pictures. You know, you tap on that, no matter where you are, you like stop and you're like, wow, that's really cool.
Nice.
You know what I mean? If it's, you know. But then there's some people that just vent.
Yeah.
So Lee and I kind of tag ourselves in there. So what we want to do is do like a news, like an SNL weekend update sort of thing.
Cool.
Where
Yeah.
we like pull it up.
Nice.
Blur people's name out, you know, but be like, so and so, you know, in Lafayette today. It's so, you know.
Yeah.
Try to have a goof.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. It's a small enough town to do that.
Well, we always kind of think about like, we can't be the only ones who read this stuff and are like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So why not try to, it's all in good fun though, nothing like, nothing mean, just, you know.
You have to be careful when you shame folks and make sure that it's
yeah, so I'm kind of
appropriate.
trying to figure that out. That's why I was like, well, we would blur the names, you know. It's a work in progress. So.
Sure, yeah. Well, cool, man. That would be fun.
I'd love to hear you play a little bit.
Cool.
Show off some of the instruments.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's, we're going to fade out.
Cool.
And then we're going to fade back in.
Okay.
Good?
We were waltzing that night in Kentucky beneath the beautiful harvest moon, and I was a boy that was lucky, but it all ended too soon as I sit here alone in the moonlight. I see your smiling face, and I long once more for your embrace in that beautiful Kentucky waltz. And I see your smiling face, and I long once more for your embrace in the beautiful Kentucky waltz.
Yeah.
I think something like that, yeah.
Something like that.